All right. That intro was smooth or something like that. What's up, people? How you doing? Just getting into it. Sorry for the late start. Um, just was trying to get some things together. And in addition to being live on Rockfin, Rumble, and on YouTube, we were live on X today. So I went ahead and did the deed. We'll see how it goes. I just did a monthly subscription on X just to, I don't know, just to try and reach some more ears and some people. So if you want to watch on X and you prefer or you would like to, we're streaming over on X. It was definitely an easier setup than couldn't ever really figure out Telegram. But anyways, we're here. Thanks for being here. You guys are great. Let's see if we've got some rock finners. Got a couple of rock finners. Got a couple people watching on X. Got a couple people. I don't know about Rumble. Never know about Rumble. Don't know if they really like me on Rumble, but I don't know. I like their free studio. I'm going to continue using. So thanks, Rumble. All right. Well, whenever you want to start. Hold on, sucker. Hold on, sucker. If you want to start something, it's best to start at the beginning. Oh, hey, look, I'm even showing up on X as I'm streaming, which is handy, that they let people know that I'm streaming. So whatever. So that's cool. Awesome, bros. Hold on, just trying to get some of these things out the way. Hold on, sneeze incoming. Woohoo! All right. Excuse me. All right. I think we got it together for this, y'all. Just scrambling. Telegram for Mongo. Save my cash until after the crash. That's a good slogan. I like it. Save my cash. You mean I shouldn't subscribe to X? I don't know. It's $8 for the month. I thought that was swingable. Swingable for a month. And we'll just see how it goes. If it doesn't really prove to be lucrative, or lucrative is the wrong word. If it doesn't prove to be beneficial, because I don't really, nothing about this show is lucrative. So let me just clear that up for anybody if you're confused. But beneficial as far as, viewers and whatnot. Salt Laker's out here shilling for fart coin. Okay. Cool. Fart coin it is. Pakistan getting the turn at the wheel on the weather whiplash board. Severe flooding has occurred following heavy rainfall with torrents strong enough to sweep away vehicles. Also saw some hail. Shots of some pretty severe hail going on. Just showing a few of the places that are getting excuse me, getting tore down from the extreme weather events. Congo also getting it really rough. 72 dead, thousands displaced in Kinshasa. This is from yesterday. Torrential rains have triggered devastating floods in the Democratic Republic of Congo. 72 people killed, 170 injured, 5,000 displaced, 11 health zones affected. And this is what it's looking like, man. In some places or areas or regions or countries are better able to withstand stuff like this. So, of course, in a place like Pakistan or Congo, people are going to be affected much more severely. So that is not great. Let's see. And then run across this thread here from Genevieve Gunther. And we'll see what she has to say about Trump's climate denial being a gift to China. Sure. I don't know. We'll kind of go through this and dissect it a little bit. We'll see what we can see. She says, I wrote about Chinese climate policy and I said that Trump's gutting of U.S. climate science and governance is a gift to China. Why? Because China has already enacted the most comprehensive climate policy in the world. Yes, really. Here's the article. Sorry. Thanks to Noma Mag for giving me so much space to make my argument. What is China's climate policy called? The 1+N framework. It's an all of government, all of society blueprint for the country's decarbonization. Its foundational documents were enacted in 2021. As the 1+N framework is built out, China will be increasingly poised to use its dominance in climate tech, its economic might, and its willingness to flout now broken global trade norms to establish a bloc of nations capable of pressuring the U.S. to decarbonize. Why does this matter? Well, we will never return to a world without climate change. As the planet heats up to over 1.5 C, already done, the likelihood of widespread and irreversible catastrophic harm to human systems increases enormously. In January, the UK Institute and Faculty of Actuaries estimated that a worst-case scenario of the world's current emissions trajectory, a 3C increase by 2100. That is actually a low ball. That's a low ball. Could contract the global economy by up to 50%. Again, laugh track necessary on that one. Somewhere between 2070 and 2090. Continue laugh track. If the global economy begins to fall into a permanent depression, stakeholders will likely call for adaptation in solar geoengineering, no matter how costly or risky. They will also begin to seek permanent climate solutions. China is positioning itself to provide those solutions. Well, yeah, yes and no. This maneuver, well, I'll finish reading this. This maneuver successfully executed would establish China as the norm setter for international governance and afford it the largest stake in a global net zero emissions economy. Will China actually decarbonize? It's of course impossible to say, but we can say they've fashioned the language of climate politics in a way that would allow failure to call CCP's performance-based legitimacy into question. And if they succeed, America, having abandoned its commitment to climate innovation and clean energy manufacturing and its leadership on the world stage, indeed its commitment to the future, could be ever more subordinated under this new global regime. Whatever the strength of American democracy in the coming decades, The rise of China as global hegemon would be a tragedy for human freedom. I don't know that we're doing so good on freedom right now either. As authoritarian surveillance state, an authoritarian surveillance state that restricts its citizens' speech, assembly, and movement, tightly controls the media and the flow of information into and through the country, and uses forced labor in manufacturing and industry. China is not a savior anywhere anyone should desire. Halting global heating with China's vision and state capacity would truly be a Faustian bargain, yet one that might prove necessary thanks to a climate denial sanctioning the fossil energy policies of the Trump regime. Sorry. Okay. Well, several things to unpack here, but first of all, as a what's up, old as dirt? How you doing? As in general, as a nation, China understands that the world economy runs on oil. However, because they actually are capable of putting in social things for the social good, things that actually help people in general. Right? They do actually do some things that have public welfare in mind, even though they are an authoritarian surveillance state. They do things that we are completely incapable and unwilling to do, like build high speed trains or do, grand public service or projects. Right? Our infrastructure is falling apart. Which in a climate, in a world of quickly changing climate, that whatever infrastructure, whatever, but they seem to be able to at least respond to things in a with some modicum of common sense and maybe common good, because they're a communist state, because capitalism doesn't run every single thing that they do, although it runs a lot of what they do. But they're also building new coal plants, coal-fired power plants. And they're planning on increasing their use of coal and gas as well as alternative energy sources. So I'm not sure that they're really committed to, making changes for, I feel like they're probably better than most on trying to do something about climate change because they can do something about climate change. Europe is definitely ahead of the United States as far as trying, being able to somewhat do some projects or some policies that are in the name of social welfare, because they still are, operating under the idea that they're a, socially democratic. Most of the states of Europe are socially, democratic. So, a lot of places, they still have public health care. They still have the ability to ban GMOs or ban certain things that are bad for you in food, which we absolutely cannot do because we're completely captured and owned by capital, by oligarchs, by money. And we are absolutely incapable on any level of doing anything for the public good. And we seem to be just giving up all pretense of that. And now that Trump is in office, now it's, we're hurtling headlong into basically an authoritarian, militarized authoritarian surveillance state. So, it's not going to be long before we're a lot like China, but without any of the social welfare, without any of the social welfare programs. Unless, we have a great economic crash or some kind of calamity, in which case they might, there are a lot of people, Whitney Webb and others, talking about the, Catherine Austin Fitts talking about the introduction of a digital surveillance coin, which would probably come under the guise of like some kind of emergency event, some economic emergency where there's a meltdown and, dollars as we know them are worthless or are called in, and everybody's then they start giving people like a UBI, like, some kind of like living stipend, to see them through. And this will be in the form of like digital money that you can turn on and off. And then we'll be something like a militarized authoritarian surveillance state, but probably with far less of the social welfare programs that China is able to give people. So I don't know. Is China going to be like a player in the future of dictating global climate policy? I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's long until things really fall apart. We don't have until 2070. We probably don't have until 2050, which is part of the reason why there's going to be this global push, and there seems to be a global push, or push, however you want to spell it, a global push for, like an authoritarian right wing, kind of top down, top heavy surveillance state, and it's going to come in. It seems like it's lining up to become an actuality, right? Kind of coordinated all at the same time. But what's happening in our own country is incredibly concerning, of course, and this has been a long time in the making. What's up? Somebody donated something on Ko-Fi? Well, all right. How come I can't see it? Here we go. Can I see this? I don't really want to go to Ko-Fi to go look at it. Looks like somebody... You know what? I think there might be an easier way to do this. It looks like... Oh, Michelle, thank you. Thank you, Michelle, for the support on Ko-Fi. Oh, the Salt Lakers. Thanks, Salt Lakers, for the support on Ko-Fi. Appreciate you. All right. Very good. Sweet. All right. Let's keep going. So yeah, all in all, this whole idea of Trump's policies being a gift to China, I'm gonna say give this a C. Maybe a C minus, because bing bong bong. Creative says things will fall apart in 90 days. All right. Well, put it on the board of possibilities. Yes. He goes on to say, Creative goes on to say, in 90 days, you'll have to learn how to make wacky cake. Wacky cake? Like during the Great Depression, cake without eggs. Oh, cake without eggs. Is it delicious or not delicious? I've never had wacky cake. Is wacky cake Any good? Anybody have experience with wacky cake? Come on. I'm intrigued. You know, I'm a bit of a cook myself. Been known to do some baking. I'll bake a wacky cake. Just go ahead and dare me. I mean, will any climate policy really matter if everybody's locked down into a totalitarian surveillance grid? You know, is it really going to be helpful for the planet or for the people, or is anybody going to be able to, is anybody going to care if you're just trying to figure out how to, appease the state to make sure you get your 2,000 UBI digital UBI credits at the end of the month, and to be able to buy, a few packets of instant noodles in order to make it through the next couple of days? Like, is anybody going to care about the climate policy? I don't know. Flatbread, flour, and water tortilla. Yeah, I mean, I make plenty of bread without eggs. I don't know about cake, but you can make lots of bread with just some flour and some water and some starter or some yeast or some oil, if it calls for that. Sometimes it doesn't even call for that. I just made some pizza last night. I made the dough. What was in it? Water, salt, some starter, and some flour, and that's that. That was the whole thing. Tortillas are pretty easy too. Yeah. So yeah, get your cooking skills up, I guess. If you're worried about financial collapse, get a bunch of staples in your house and be ready to make anything out of anything. What's interesting about this X subscription I just got is that they are just whacking me, suppressing the shit out of me. They've been suppressing the shit out of me forever. Years now. They will not let me get above, I've been below 700 subscribers for like 5 years at least on X, formerly, or what used to be Twitter. And my follower number just seemed to go down. It seemed like they were, showing my post to like 3 people, all of my posts to like 3 people. And then, so I signed up for the subscription and suddenly I gained like 10 followers in a day. I was like, oh, is that how it works here? I don't know. Is the chat working on X? I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if I can check you out. Where can we see the chat? Here it on. It should be, if you go to, let's see. Can we get the chat on X? I don't know. There's a chat. Oh man, there's a big Rumble Studio tag on my, I didn't see that before. That's kind of ugly. Maybe I can get rid of that. Yes, if you go to if you can go to the video part on my page, when you find the post that has the live stream in it, just click on the bottom where it has the title of the video, and it will bring you to the page with the chat. And then there's the chat. Chat is working, guys, on X, and I'm looking at it right now. Sorry for that noise. So go ahead, feel free to go over to X and chat if you want. This is in Michigan. Big ice storm took out a bunch of trees. Did you all see the huge ice storm that hit Turkey? I talked about it. uh, you recently got a message on X to verify in order to get more followers. Yeah, I guess that's how it works. If you give us some money, we'll give you the followers. You know, so I guess it works like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, whatever. Whatevs, yo. I'm just trying to get some eyeballs on the. It's hard to get eyeballs on my shows these days, since YouTube completely squashes the ever living stuff out of me. They just won't show my video to anybody ever at all on YouTube. So the only people to watch my YouTube videos are people who've been watching my show for like 5 years. So those are the only people that see it. Yeah. Anyways, what are they saying about this? Wildfire potential for wildfire will increase because of all these dead trees that there's ice storm just took out a bunch of trees. There was a huge ice storm in Turkey that destroyed a lot of early spring crops as well. Okay, and more views, more followers, something like that. I don't know. All right, let's move on to what's happening under the Trump administration. Fright night at the White House. Let's see. Just going to go through several posts about the deportations and the possible deportations to El Salvador or elsewhere. Who knows? Maybe Ecuador now. I'm not sure. Jason Basler says, all right, let's think about this. Trump now has Real ID, Palantir databases, virtual border wall, biometric AI tracking. He just authorized the military to control the border and says he wants to deport homegrown citizens. If this isn't militarized techno-fascism, what is? Yes, the Real ID, somebody points out, Real ID, I believe, was passed several years ago. It was actually part of the Patriot Act. So, yes. All the way back. Oh, you got to go way back to the the heady days of the George W. Bush administration. When they passed the Patriot Act and Real ID became just a glimmer in Georgie's eyes. Anyways. Militarized techno-fascism, indeed. So let's look at Eric Prince. This woman put together a pretty good video about the despicableness of this whole thing and how Eric Prince is profiting off of these deportations to El Salvador. This is a multinational coordinated, effort to, I don't know, to screw people over for profit, for fun and for profit. I don't know what happened to Guantanamo. John Glad, haven't really heard about it much. I heard that they were preparing, or maybe already using Guantanamo for some deportees, but now they're like, no, it's El Salvador. El Salvador. What's that got to do with anything? All right, let's listen to this. Kind of lengthy, but very educational. So let's listen.
We now know the evil mastermind behind the illegal extraditions to El Salvador. Spoiler alert, it's not Stephen Miller. All the credit should go to Michigan's trashiest Nepo baby, Eric Prince, brother to Michigan's second trashiest Nepo baby, former Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos. Don't forget that this piece of shit founded the privatized military company Blackwater, which made him even wealthier off of government contracts. Prince being the heir to a $1 billion auto parts company, which he ended up selling in order to found Blackwater, was never exactly hurting for money. Being a former Navy SEAL, he simply saw an opportunity to grift off of government contracts. And because this country loves to reward the wealthy, Blackwater and its affiliates became the largest of the State Department's three private security companies. Even after Blackwater became infamous for human rights violations, it was still rewarded with hundreds of millions of dollars in government contracts. Prince himself continued to escape accountability even after he was investigated by the FBI and had to settle for nearly $50 million for trafficking military equipment. Prince has also made a name for himself by supporting bad actors who aim to take power by force. In case it's not clear whose side Eric Prince is on, it's not the side that will be viewed kindly by history. On Friday, Politico reported that it obtained a proposal by Eric Prince and a cohort of defense contractors to industrialize illegal extraditions to El Salvador. In this proposal, the evil geniuses outline a strategy to circumvent the courts, namely by designating part of the prison, which is CCOT, as American territory. Now, it's expected that that proposal will be discussed at the White House meeting between the current administration and El Salvador's self-professed dictator Nayib Bukele this week. If that business deal is made, Eric Prince would get the contract. And that explains why Eric Prince registered a new company called 2USV in Wyoming on Wednesday. Now, Prince has been working behind the scenes on this plan for months. It also explains why the United States boosted El Salvador's safe travel rating on Tuesday. Until Tuesday, El Salvador was rated a level 2, which urges caution for U.S. travelers. El Salvador is now rated as a level 1, which is the safest travel rating, and puts El Salvador ahead of France, the UK, and Italy. And the person who lobbied for that change was Eric Prince. And it turns out that he's been working behind the scenes on this lucrative business deal between the United States and El Salvador for months. And the proposal that was obtained by Politico highlights Eric Prince's plans for profiting off of mass extraditions. As part of the proposal, Eric Prince will facilitate an operation that would handle the logistics of gathering 100,000 people from U.S. prisons, holding them at a 10,000-person detention camp, and then flying them to El Salvador. But there's more. Prince is also asking the government for access to immigration documents. And the reason he wants access to those documents is to give him broader authority over locating, capturing, detaining, and deporting people. But that's not enough for Eric Prince. He is asking for more. The proposal states that 2USV will, quote, facilitate a hearing before an immigration judge to adjudicate any pending asylum claim. His company will also work with prosecutors to, quote, make deals with incarcerated individuals whereby some of their prison sentence will be waived in exchange for the granting of a deportation order. What Eric Prince is essentially asking for here is a monopoly over the entire scheme. Now, Eric Prince isn't the only one who plans to grift off of this scheme. This proposal also includes another grift for the administration. The administration wants to make CCOT American territory to get around any legal barriers, as it says here that transferring a prisoner to such a facility would not be an extradition nor a deportation. The administration would then lease the prison back to El Salvador in order for them to oversee the gulag. This way, the Department of Homeland Security would no longer be responsible for detention standards. And the person who came up with this entire scheme to enable the administration to defy the courts is Eric Prince. In a letter attached to Prince's proposal, El Salvador's Minister of Justice and Public Security, Hector Gustavo Villatoro, stated that Eric Prince was the mastermind of all of this. The letter states that through his new company, 2USV, Eric Prince has been serving as a trade agent for El Salvador to, quote, reach an agreement on the use of El Salvador's prisons to house foreign criminals. Thank God these idiots leave a paper trail. The letter also confirms that the plan is to house up to 100,000 people. Now, Prince has been cooking up this scheme for a very long time. He began pitching this idea with El Salvador last year. Last August, Prince paid a visit to CCOT. It was during that visit when Prince complained about El Salvador's travel safety rating. Interestingly, in an admission of guilt, Prince acknowledges in his proposal that his business plan is not legally sound. The proposal states that it's, quote, highly likely that this effort will be tested judicially by the ACLU or other activist group. Now, Prince's business scheme isn't just to extradite immigrants, it's also to extradite US citizens. That's why the administration has been laying the groundwork the last couple weeks. Prince's real proposal is to arrest and remove 12 million people at a cost of $12 billion. What's been happening so far is that the administration is beta testing Prince's proposal at a smaller scale. Currently, the administration has a 1-year deal with El Salvador in which they paid El Salvador $6 million to arrest and extradite over 200 alleged gang members. The next phase of the scheme involves Stephen Miller's plan to denaturalize American citizens and extradite them to El Salvador. It's important to note that the legal bar is set very high for denaturalization. A person would have to commit high crimes and misdemeanors against the United States. That includes committing the big T's, enlisting in a foreign military engaged in opposition to the US, or lying in applications for citizenship or as part of the naturalization process. Since day one of this administration, they have been inventing a legal framework in order to circumvent court precedent. Stephen Miller has been leading this effort. In fact, he still aggrieved that during the first administration, they did not get to do any mass denaturalization initiatives. So Miller has been lobbying to, quote, possibly denaturalizing and deporting activists and other individuals whom they label as having committed so-called fraud on their applications for citizenship by subsequently supporting what the administration decides are pro-terrorist causes or groups. In other words, the administration is looking to quash dissent by classifying protests as advocating for terrorism. It's some dictator shit. The administration is also looking for potential legal justifications and technicalities they can exploit for denaturalizing citizens, which they're already using against Venezuelan nationals. And they're using tattoos as their justification. And the administration is downplaying their heinous plan by telling the press, quote, it's not like we would send everybody there, but depending on the case, it can be an option. This is a standard process of exploring legal options, as all administrations do one way or another. As Kika Matos, the president of the National Immigration Law Center, said, quote, what's to stop the administration from using the same pretext they used to send people to El Salvador and claiming that these U.S. citizens are the worst offenders? She continued, quote, they could start engaging in the same kind of pretextual deportation of people for whom the offenses at the end of the day might have something to do with what you say, how you live your life, what tattoos you have on your body. She added, quote, this is all about this administration testing the bounds of the law and trying to consolidate their power by advancing unconstitutional laws and policies, starting with immigrants. And the people who are whispering in the current occupant of the White House's ear want him to use the hammer of state and executive power to do something big and truly unprecedented. One of those people is Eric Prince. Another is Mike Davis, a FedSoc member and founder of the Article 3 Project. This fucking guy spends a lot of time with Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk. When asked about the legal precedent for this initiative, Mike Davis said to hell with it. One tool that the administration already has at its disposal is the denaturalization section under the Civil Division of the Department of Justice, which was created during his first term. And I really hate to say that the Biden administration did not undo it. Doing nothing to end this section has made it a lot easier for the current administration to defy court orders. And it's also made it a hell of a lot easier for the very worst people to bend the law to their will in order to exploit vulnerable people for profit. It's bullshit like this that happens when you enable wealthy criminals.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a good report there. Let's see. Yeah, it's that, all of that whole thing, concerning to say the least. I guess you have to be a subscriber to chat on the X. So I'm sorry, guys, if you're not able to, don't subscribe just so you can chat unless you really want to. But if you really want to, you want to chat on the X, then or maybe you're already subscribed and You can do that. But yeah, I don't know. They just, who knows? But I'm just trying to get some eyeballs on these videos. So I guess I'm getting some eyeballs on these videos. So welcome anybody who's watching on X. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you. Welcome to the Rock Finners, of course. Yeah, frightening to say the least. Let's keep going because time is limited. Again, if you support the show, you like this show, you like to hang out and watch this show, and you like the show coming to you for free Monday through Friday, every which way it comes to you, whether it's on Rockfin, YouTube, Rumble, Substack, or X, is all free for you to view. So basically run on your donations. And there are lots of ways to donate in the description box of whatever platform you are watching on. There's a link tree on X if you want to go to the link tree. All the usual suspects are there: the Venmo, the Cash App, the PayPal, the Zelle, the Ko-Fis, the Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, Substack, etc. All right, let's keep going. Time is ever fleeting. And we started a bit on the tardy side. More on this. So here's a wrinkle. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg ruled Wednesday that there is probable cause to hold Trump administration officials in criminal contempt. Do you think? For violating his March order halting deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. Probable cause for holding him in criminal contempt for violating the Constitution. How about that? The administration arranged for planes carrying hundreds of Venezuelan migrants to be flown to a high-security prison in El Salvador just hours after Boasberg's order was issued. In his 46-page decision, Boasberg wrote the government's actions on that day illustrate a willful disregard for its order and described the conduct as deliberate disregard for the court's directive. He emphasized the court does not reach such conclusion lightly or hastily. Indeed, it has given defendants ample opportunity to rectify or explain their actions. None of their responses has been satisfactory. They are just renegade, rogue, doing whatever they want to do. Law or Constitution be damned. And it's a wonder where this is going to end, or how it's going to end. It's I don't know what force is going to come to act upon this renegade rogue administration. Boasberg warned that the Constitution does not permit willful disobedience of judicial orders, especially by officials of a coordinate branch who have sworn an oath to uphold it. He has given the administration a final chance to remedy the violation, possibly by letting deportees seek judicial review in U.S. courts, and indicated he may appoint an outside attorney to pursue contempt charges if the Justice Department declines to act. Come on, Boasberg.
This is huge. We've been waiting for this opinion. Now, the judge here is still deciding punishment and the next steps. He is giving the Justice Department a chance to weigh in here. But this case, this question has, as you know, become a political flashpoint. President Trump has repeatedly attacked this judge, James Boasberg, even calling for him to be impeached. Now, much of this started last month on March 15th. The president had invoked the Alien Enemies Act to facilitate deportations of Venezuelan migrants. The government alleges were affiliated with a gang. Litigation commenced over the weekend, and these planes that were already carrying migrants were eventually grounded. But then when the judge ordered these to be flown back to the United States, they continued from Honduras, where they had stopped, on to El Salvador. Now, the judge has suggested that this was a deliberate attempt to defy his order. But Justice Department lawyers and sources I've spoken with disagree. They believe that a district court judge did not have jurisdiction over the acts of the administration once they're in international territory. Now, I want to read some quotes from this opinion. The judge says, as this opinion will detail, the court ultimately determines that the government's actions on that day demonstrate a willful disregard for its order, sufficient for the court to conclude that probable cause exists to find the government in criminal contempt. The court does not reach such a conclusion lightly or hastily. Indeed, it has given defendants ample opportunity to rectify or explain their actions. None of their responses has been satisfactory. The Constitution does not tolerate willful disobedience of judicial orders, especially by officials of a coordinate branch who have sworn.
Okay, I've already read all that, so don't need to hear her read it again. A few more things to cover before we venture out to the rest of the day. Here is what looks like a bit of a town hall, and these people look like regular American type people. Ask yourself what's going to stop the government from deporting you to a prison in El Salvador. How would you prove it's an error if you don't have due process? If it can happen to anyone, it can happen to you. The people get it. Either everyone has due process or nobody does. Yeah, listen to this, man.
Excuse me, Senator Grassley, on that same subject. The Constitution, the framers of the Constitution said that every person, not citizen, every person within the jurisdiction of the United States has due process. That has been violated by the administration, and we would like to know what you, as the people, the Congress, who are supposed to rein in this dictator, what are you going to do about it? These people have been sentenced to life imprisonment in a foreign country with no due process.
And these folks don't look like Democrats. Sorry, I know I'm just assuming and painting, with they just don't look like Democrats to me. Or it doesn't look like a majority Democrat crowd. So I think these are people, when he called him a dictator, and yeah, if you're just making up your own rules and doing whatever the hell you want, factually could be called a dictator. Here you go.
Our government cannot do anything. Why won't you do your job, Senator?
It's fine.
I mean,
Supreme Court. Trump's not obeying the Supreme Court.
I see a red hat here.
Excuse me, Senator.
Okay, so these are, everyday average Americans, and they can see what's going on. And they're like, no, sir. No, sir. We do not like it, sir. Again, blowback is a thing. And we'll see what the blowback is to all of this, because they're at, the whole thing about the totalitarian tiptoe is that you push a little forward and then you reel it back in, because people are like, hold on, and then you push it forward. I don't know where this particular step and where we're at in the totalitarian tiptoe, but they're not tiptoeing right now. They're running down the field with the ball towards the end zone. Is anybody going to make a tackle? Is the problem? Is the question at hand? Trump also seems to be, not mad at helping out Big Pharma. Self-amplifying mRNA. Self-amplifying mRNA. Trump administration fast tracks controversial controversial self-amplifying mRNA vaccine for H5N1 bird flu. By the way, you know, if the Trumpers didn't understand the first time through what Trump was, you know, all about Operation Warp Speed and all about the vaccines, and he was so damn proud of the vaccines, and he knew exactly what was going on with the vaccines. So there wasn't a failure to understand. Sorry, that doesn't fly. And I don't believe it. If you believe it, well, okay, this is long. We're not going to have enough time to watch this whole thing, but
I'm going to make this video really quick, but save
quick,
the
sure.
Trump will save the world nonsense for somebody else. Stop believing the lie. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Stop bowing down at the golden Trump altar and read this freaking headline. Trump administration fast tracks controversial self-amplifying mRNA VAXX for H5N1 bird flu. I don't understand. I don't understand.
I don't either, sir. Yeah, it's from Jane Ruby. Trump is already pushing mRNA vaccines for cancer after the COVID shots. You know, you can read. Yeah, all, you know, smoke and mirrors, et cetera, et cetera. What? I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that pill. No, sir. And lastly, we'll see. This is I didn't play this yesterday, but this is the scene where the Palestine flag was unfurled at the Bernie Sanders rally, and he did his darndest to ignore it. And the people doing the unfurling were arrested, and then the crowd starts chanting, not Bernie, but free Palestine.
One America in which the wealthiest people, the top 1%, have never, ever had it so good.
That includes me. They're booing the cops, Bernie. They're not booing the oligarchy, bro. What is this called? The Fight for Oligarchy Tour?
In America today, we have more income. In America today. In America today.
Don't have anything to say about that, Bernie? Nope. You really fighting the oligarchy? You really a progressive? You really about freedom and justice? Is that what you're about, Bernie? Is that really what it's about? Wow. Wow.
Let me go on to know that this is a sensitive issue, something I am helping leading the effort.
Okay. Whatever, bro. Whatevs, yo. All right, guys. I really appreciate you hanging out with me today. And getting all up on the news, or as much as the news that we can cover. We do what we can in a limited time space. And I mean, there's only, how much news can one take in? I can't even get, the deal. But we try to cover what's relevant, right? So thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting. Didn't see any other donations myself. And if there were, I can never see any on YouTube. If you ever donate on YouTube, you got to send a chat and say like, hello, I sent a super chat. It's like send a separate chat and tell me whether you sent a super chat, because I can't see them on the Rumble thing. But anyways, Bernie and AOC Pelosi to the rescue. Yes. Bernie Biden and AOC Pelosi, or Bernie Schumer. Bernie the Shum. Yeah, guys, thank you. Appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, peace.